For the players.
I'm Ryan Betson.
I'm Max Cooper.
And this is For the Players, the PopCulturists PlayStation Podcast. For 40 years of playing PlayStation and 10 plus years, 12 plus years in the games media compartment. I'd like to thank you for joining us in this PlayStation conversation.
This PlayStation conversation happens every Monday morning at 8 a.m. on podcast services, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and 9 a.m. on those YouTubes. If you'd like to take part in future conversations with us, you can. Come and check out our socials, Facebook, Discord, Instagram, and X. All of those links can be found in the description below. Fucking hell.
If you want to join the conversation as it happens, head over to twitch.tv/thepopculturists, where you can watch us record this show live, where you can jump in the chat and become part of the show. If you want to support the show, you can. Tell your friends, tell your family about this PlayStation pod. If you are listening on podcast service, be sure to give us a 5-star rating and a written review. If you watch us on YouTube, be sure to like, subscribe, with comment below. I endeavor to answer every single comment. And if you want to support us financially, you can at patreon.com/thepopculturists, or our merchandise store, popculturists.com/shop, where you can buy shirts and other sort of shit with our logos on it. We're back. We had a whole week off because I was over in Perth hanging out, watching some wrestling. You got to have a week off. It was awesome.
Spreading democracy.
Yeah, Max stayed exactly where he was. But how you been, man? How has the time away been for you? Even though nothing really changed for you at all, apart from not having to write a document on for Sunday afternoon.
Well, look, it was actually, I'm not gonna lie, it was great. So the Sunday we didn't record was the day that Mum went home.
Yep.
And I'm like, I'll take you to the airport. It'll be fine. And then she reminded me that her flight was at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Ew.
So I had to drive to Melbourne. So her flight was at 6, I think, actually. So she likes to get there an hour before.
So do I. I'm the same boat. I will push 2 hours sometimes because I like to chill.
So she's like, I have to be there at 5. I'm like, okay. So from my house, I'm about an hour and a half from Melbourne. And I had to stop and get petrol. So I'm like, we're going to leave at 3.
Yeah.
Just in case. Even stopping for petrol, I got Mum to the airport at 4:02 in the morning.
Damn, that's a good run.
Yeah. And I said, sorry, you got 2 hours to wait. Laters. And then left.
Nice.
Motherfucker. And then I made it home before her flight.
So that's the advantage of driving at like 3 in the morning to Melbourne, really.
Yeah.
So therefore, you just came home and chilled out and had a bit of a snooze.
I passed out hard because I stayed up. So, yeah.
That's true, because it does, obviously, with all your night shifts we've talked about for as long as you've been on the show, it's just easier for you to stay up.
Yeah, so I just stayed up, drove her, because she's like, I'm nervous, I'm not going to wake up to my alarm. She's like, are you going to be able to wake me up? I'm like, I'm just going to stay up. It'll be fun. So, yeah, it was good. It was nice, because I kind of had a cheeky nap in the afternoon, and I felt like, bleh. By 8 o'clock Sunday night, I was dead.
Yeah.
It would have been the worst.
I too was quite dead on the Sunday night. I
was pretty stoked.
Yeah. Just the time zones alone. So to add to your flight story. So this
you did tell them that I'm an idiot, and I thought you were 3 hours ahead of me, not 3 hours behind me.
No. But that does make sense now.
Every time you message something, I'm like, why the fuck is he awake at 4 o'clock in the morning? But it wasn't 4 o'clock in the morning. It was 10 o'clock at night.
Because that happened on one of the nights as well.
I'll be back in 1 second.
That's all right. So for those that don't know, last week, the reason we didn't do the show is that I went over to Perth to see the WWE Elimination Chamber premium live event. Being a huge wrestling fan for the last 6 years, this is kind of a dream of mine to be able to go see a WWE show. I've gone and seen their live shows and their house shows. They're fun, but there's nothing really to them. No titles ever change. The matches are always pretty meh. But this was a pay-per-view, right? This is a match, a series of matches, a show that had legit story consequences. Was the card really predictable? Yes, it was. But that was what the story dictated, but it was fine. So when Max gets back, we'll talk in a bit more of the details, but it was an overall fun experience. It was the longest flight I've ever been on. Our good friend Craig, the Mullet Show, is the first flight he's been on in about 20 years. Or as being a bigger dude, he was never really comfortable about doing it, and we sort of pushed his boundaries and be like, dude, you gotta go. Like, how are we not going to go? Our original plans were to drive across the Nullarbor to be there, like, because we thought it would be a bit more fun to take the scenic route. However, we very quickly realized that petrol is stupid expensive and chose to fly instead, and it was the much better option. It allowed us to have more time over there with our friends, because we did moosh off our friends while we were there, which was lovely, and also allowed us to sort of do some more cool things while we were there outside of just the pay-per-view. So if we did the other way, we'd have had to leave. We would have about 3 days there, not even, and then have to take the 3 days to drive back. So I'm very, very glad we changed our mind on that one. It's probably one of the smartest things that we had done, which is good. But yeah, no, it was fun. The most interesting thing, because there was the time zones, right? So our flight was at 6. I think our flight was at 6 in the morning. So we're staying at my dad's, who lives in the northern suburbs, and it wasn't like that far to the airport. So got up about 4:30, because I know I'm a good sleeper-innerer. Had my meds, so I had my Ritalin at 4:45 in the morning. Got to the airport, flew out at 6, flew for 3.5 hours, landed at 7. That was bizarre. And then it was insane because I'd been awake for so long, since 4 a.m. East Coast time. By 11 o'clock, I'm in my window where my meds should have been wearing off, and I still have like a whole day left. It was fucked. It was like, and even though it's only 3 hours, but 3 hours, depending on what part of the day, really throws you off. You're like, I want some lunch. Oh, I can't. It's breakfast. It's before breakfast. Okay, that's fucking annoying. And then everything gets weirdly skewed. So time zones, Max, don't fuck with them. Don't fuck with them.
Why didn't you just take your fucking Ritalin later?
Because I needed it to, because what it also does for me, also assists with like my baseline anxiety levels, because that's a big sort of comorbidity with ADHD. So I had it before I went, because then a way it would have landed, it would have sat comfortably as I got on the flight. No, I'm not an anxious flyer by any sense, but it's...
don't you have, sorry to interrupt, but don't you have a short-acting one? Couldn't you have popped a short-acting one and then popped your long-acting one?
Yeah, that would have made sense, Max. But I took it when I didn't have Ritalin in my system, so I made bad decisions.
He's awake. No, I've been in there twice to put his dummy back in.
That's me, by the way, at 4 in the morning. Yeah, he's awake. We went in there, gave him his dummy.
Flipped around sideways, legs up in the air.
That does sound like me.
So I put him back under, tucked him back in, dummy in. But I think he's suffocating himself with his bear.
Oh, Max. See, Max treats me right when I'm sleeping. He's lovely. But yeah, that would have made more sense. Instead, I did the long, and then I just kind of fought my way through the rest of the day, because the idea would have thrown me out. It would have been a whole thing. But it was absolutely lovely. Yeah, so we flew over on the Wednesday. The show was Saturday. Hung around at my mate's place. I went to the WWE Media Day on the Friday. Got to like rub shoulders with a bunch of WWE superstars. And I stayed a very calm exterior. I was like, yes, lovely to meet you. Hi, Becky Lynch. Oh, hi, Seth Rollins. Rhea Ripley. It's lovely to meet you. At any
point did you say, hey, I've lost all this weight and I promised everyone that I would be thrown through a table. Can you please avoid
No, because I've gained weight since then, and it was the media. Like, it was one of those things where like there's a professional aura. But saying that though, I finally met in person.
saying that though, someone did get thrown through a table.
Yeah, saying that though. Yeah. So I finally got to meet our good friend Josh Robinson, _00. He's a Twitch streamer. He's a content creator, wrestling fiend. His interviews over the weekend, perfection. So finally getting to meet him. Now, he is a bigger fan than me. He is lifetime wrestling fan. And watching, unlike me, who kept a relatively stern poker face, because I was like, all right, I've done press junkets before. Like, it's all about sort of quick movements. You know, it's like we in and we're out. We just got to like toe the line. I'm looking over at him and he is like exploding. Like his face is beaming because he keeps looking through the partition to see who we're talking to and he's not talking to someone. And it was this childlike joy. And not that I didn't feel any emotion about it. Like internally, I was like freaking out in the best possible way. But like looking over at Josh and seeing his excitement kind of pulled it out of me. I was like, okay, this is pretty incredible. Like what we're doing here today. And just an absolute achievement. Especially for Josh and for me, and thank you to our good friend Fid McAwesome over at Down Under the Ring. I offered to take our gear to shoot the interviews for him because they didn't have any gear, and I was like, I'm gonna be there anyway. I can carry my cameras. It'd be beautiful. But it was lovely. I really enjoyed the trip. I'm not gonna go too hard on it because I know Max, you hate the wrestles, so I'm not gonna like bore you.
The opportunity while I was gone.
I talked about the airport instead.
Well, like I said in our group chat today, like this is really the only time we converse throughout the week as well. So like it is interesting to hear how your first holiday and what it felt like forever.
It was literally my first holiday in about 10 years, since like way before my son was born and he's 7. Like I've never been in a position where I could go on like travel holidays. I've never had a reason to, because I'm not a big fan of just going on holidays and going, because why not? Like I need a reason to do something, especially something expensive and stupid. And I was like, when am I ever going to see a WWE pay-per-view again? And it's very unlikely that it won't be this year. It'll be next year, maybe the year after. And then, of course, it's being main evented by an Australian, so that feels good. And it's right on the window of WWE 2K24 coming out. I'm like, ooh. So I hit up our good friends at 2K, and I was like, hey, we guys doing anything? And this is like about a week out, and they're like, yeah, nothing planned. I'm like, all right, cool, no worries. Well, I'll be there. Give me a shout if there's anything cool happening. And then the day before, the Thursday the Thursday I get a message from also named Ryan from 2K. He's like, dude, I hear you're around. We're doing a little fucking hangout before Elimination Chamber. Come check out the game. Come hang out with us, and we'll all wander off to the show together. I'm like, hell yeah, dude, 100%. I'll be there. So I went there and met up with a couple of other wrestle social media friends, like Zenareth. I just call him Zen because I think I always pronounce it wrong. The other one was a guy named Stephen Player One. Now it's one of those things where I have spoken to Stephen for years, but seeing him in person, I went, he goes, hey, I'm Stephen Player One. I'm like, huh? I had to pull out my phone and go, oh shit, it's that guy. And I felt really mean about it, like really rude about it. But that's just I didn't realize until like the moment I went, I know exactly who you are now. Fuck yes, we've been talking to each other for years. But yeah, so we got to go to a lovely hotel. We went upstairs and had a couple drinks. I didn't drink. I had my Ritalins, can't drink. But we got some hands-on with WWE 2K24. There's a couple of things I can talk about, a couple of things that I can't, because the game is not out yet, and it's some of the things that haven't been showcased across other various social medias. But we did do some exhibition matches, so we got to sort of see some cool little moments. We had just like some of the wrestlers, some of the designs. Yeah, there's Stephen Player coming at the right time. As I said, I was like, hey, it's Stephen. I'm like, oh, okay, cool, Stephen. And it wasn't until I heard the handle, I went, that guy. I felt like such a prick too, but it was absolutely incredible to meet him, as well as Zen in person as well. So yeah, that was cool. Loved that. Got hands-on with it. It was actually a whole lot of fun. Like, I can't talk about it specifically, but we were sitting there and they had the exhibition, the just the plain matches on. And I was chatting to Ryan from 2K, and I was like, yo, can I like head into other modes and stuff? And he's like, yeah, you just can't like post about it or talk about it, whatever. I'm like, yeah, no worries. Instantly to GM mode. I ain't gonna say a fucking thing, but went straight to the GM mode. And like, it was fun because it was kind of like a small event. It was like 20 or so people. It did make me laugh because, they're all kind of like schmoozing and chatting and catching up. And then there's Zen, Steven, and myself, and we're just like playing the game. Like, clearly everyone else was invited because they're all part of the 2K like Next Makers crew, and they're all like friendly with each other and all talking about non-wrestling things. And the three of us are like, all right, well, cool. Can we check out the modes? All right, cool. Oh yeah, yes. Oh, I loved how the crowd reacted. Oh yeah, it's like breaking down the game like the giant nerds that we are, and it was so much fun. So big shout out to both Ryan and Kat from 2K for kindly inviting myself over. It was awesome. And of course, I met Claire there from Double Jump, who also is our line for 2K WWE. It was lovely. It was absolutely great event, and I cannot wait to talk more about WWE 2K24, but I can't just yet. Give it time. Give it time. But one of the things I did do, Max, so let's talk in the section we talk about what we've been playing this week. Now, I had a turmoil because my carry-on was my camera gear, because I was helping, as I mentioned, helping out Fid. I didn't do what I normally do when I travel, which is take my PS5. So instead, I was hoping to rely on remote play. But my friend, she doesn't have home internet.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, that's what I said. So she has like an unlimited phone plan, and so she just hotspots her phone for all the shit she has whenever she's home. And I'm like, that's not helpful. That, like, how I can't remote play on someone else's fucking hotspot. So luckily I made the decision. I was like, I'm gonna bring my Vita. I'll play the Vita on the flight, and then I'll maybe play it when I'm there. Best decision ever, because I forgot how amazing the Vita was. So I played some Papers, Please. I played Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker. What was it? There was another game I checked out. But the one that I think you'll get a kick out of, Max, hearing me play, was Persona 4 Golden. Now, I played this years and years and years ago, and I enjoyed it, and I had a good time with it. But I booted it up, and I was like, I don't know how. I was like, good handful of hours in. I'm like, I don't remember what I was up to. So I started again. Instantly fell back in love with it. What a game. It is so fun. It's so charming. The characters are really cool. And even like as the game kicks in, like they quickly sort of rapidly give you information about who they are. But almost immediately you're getting the understanding of who these characters are, their motivations, what they do. And you get thrown into like the TV dream world. I forget what it's called. And like that has its own sort of feel. And then you meet Teddy, and Teddy's a whole bunch of interesting. And then you have the ongoing mystery about like this girl that died. And it is... What a game. What a game. So then when I came back, because I forgot that I bought it on the PS5, PS4, PS5, whatever, like when it released as the remaster, I was like, oh, I'll buy that because I'll play that again one day. Totally forgot. And then playing on the Vita made me went, yeah, I got to play that again, eh? So I did. So I started the game again on the PS4 because my save wouldn't transfer, and I wanted to experience it on my tally because my Vita's cool and all, but... that was it. Other than that, like, what else I've been playing? So since I came back, missing my PlayStation for the better part of a week, I was like, I gotta spend some quality time with it. And then I had my son over for the weekend, so he spent some quality time with it instead. But Gas Station Simulator, played more of that because it's a good little bit of a grind. There's new DLC coming out, but it's only on PC. I got an email about it. They're like, hey, you want a review code? I'm like, fuck yes. I'll play the shit out of that on PC all over again. What else? Helldivers. So I'm level 11 now, I think, roundabout. So I kind of left at level 8, I think. So I had a bit of fun since coming back. But my housemate Ange, they've been playing Helldivers as well. They left, and when I left, they were about level 6, 7. Come back, they're like 28. And they're showing me all these incredible stratagems, all these new weapons. And like I did a match with them and a couple of our mates. And it was one of the automaton ones. But they just cranked up the difficulty. And they went, when you spawn in, just drop ship onto the tower and stay up there. And we'll do all the rest. I'm like, okay, cool, no worries. Land on this tower and I'm just looking down at utter fucking chaos. Like shit is blowing up. Fucking tanks are coming in. It's just nothing but lasers and explosions. And I'm like, how? This is insane. And then we went and did like just a standard mission with like the Terminids. And one of my mates who's like level 30 something, maybe 40, he's like, all right, I'm going to run off here. You guys go do that objective. I'll be back. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like, we're a team of 3. So like, all right, sure. So Ange and I go off and do this. He just fucks off. We have no idea what he's doing. He's on mic, but he's just chatting. And then suddenly we hear this, large nest gone, medium nest gone, large nest gone. I'm like, well, we're not doing it because we're walking to the fucking objective. Whatever gear he has up in these late levels obliterates everything. He's got like this thing that makes him like relatively imperceivable to the Terminids. Has dopes like this 500 kilogram nuke that just fucks shit up. Helldivers, Max, fucking rules. I missed it so hard, and it was good to come back and play it. But I said, while I was away, you were playing it too, yeah?
Yeah, so I've been playing a fair bit. So I'm like level 12, 13 at the moment. A lot of my mates are in the 20s now too. We've just unlocked Helldiver difficulty, which I think is the highest difficulty.
Because you had suicide mission something, then Helldive, yeah.
I'm super sick of getting killed by ally fucking mortar turrets.
Yeah.
The game is so good. It's we ran into some hackers though.
Oh yeah.
So this person was happened to a friend of mine first, and then it happened to me the other day. I joined a random squad, which I normally don't do because I'm not a huge fan of hot marking with randos.
Same.
He clearly had Chinese characters for his name, and then all of a sudden he was next to us, and then he was just fucking gone, and he just sprinted across the whole fucking map in like a second. And there was just like unlimited stratagems coming in, and I'm just like, what the fuck is this? And then he went so hard that I got disconnected from the server. So either he kicked me right before he finished the mission, so I didn't get anything, or he crashed the fucking server, crashed the lobby that we're in.
See, this is the thing, and the thing I don't understand is that this is a PvE game, right? There is no advantage to hack this game. Like, there really isn't. So why? Like, all it does is, congratulations, you're better at the digital thing than somebody else. Like, you can beat the computer better than somebody else. I really don't get it. Because the downside is, and this is from my understanding, is because the loot system is shared. If this happens, and like I've heard of this from another show, is like, yeah, like you go in with this hacked game, suddenly you're getting like let's say 18 samples. You're coming out with like 25, 30. Because you can spoof the samples, you can spoof the medals, and then you come back and you've got all these benefits, and you're like, well, I didn't want to do this. I wanted to earn that shit. Yeah. So it's kind of like, so you didn't get any benefits because they all crashed, right?
Yeah, correct.
Drats.
And like you're hearing horror stories online that some people have yet to realize that the samples are shared, so they're killing their teammates to steal the samples. I'm like, why? Everyone gets the same amount of samples when you're exfil with the samples.
Yeah.
A fucking team-based game. Oh, whatever floats people's boats.
But so in terms of a team-based, like I'm yet to have like a bad experience like that. So I go in and I have my mic off because I don't want to talk to anyone unless they're my friends. And even then I'm like, yeah. But what I really love is because I was the one that made the game and everyone joined my game, I just ping the map and I go, we're going here, we're going there. And then everyone just goes, like, there's not even like, there's a complete non-verbal communication. I just start going and they go, all right. And they follow along. And it's almost like we just know what we're doing. Now, there has been a couple, like once where I was like, we're going here. And then the other three people go and went over there. And I was like, okay, well, I'm still going to do what I'm going to do, so fuck you. And then they all die, and I go, well, because they're all like level 4 or 5 or whatever, and they're like, we're going to go over here, you know? And Neon Mara in the chat mentions, you can see, man, by the way, because some people want to see the world burn. And that's one of those things where, like, in that same match, I was shooting some Terminids, some guy walked in the way, got shot and died. I went, oh, cool, bring him back in. Kills me. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Clearly it was unintentional because I brought you back. If it was on purpose, I would have been fuck you and made you sit there until you had to get reinforced. Suck a dick. Didn't happen. But other than that, like, it's been a really, really chill and fun experience. Like, because I think you and I have talked about this before, and especially around DMZ's release, like Call of Duty DMZ, is I love multiplayer PvE stuff. I'm not a big fan of multiplayer PvP because then you get sweaty fucks that ruin it for you when you're just trying to have a good time. Max,
I mean,
you're that guy in DMZ.
Shade, but yeah, but
I'm also saying that in terms of the times that you and I played DMZ and we just did the PvE stuff, loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Except when every single bot shot you, and then I just casually walk through all of them.
That was, apart from that one moment, that was really, really frustrating. But like for that reason alone is why Helldivers is great. And once again, the microtransactions aren't even that like nasty either. The only thing you can buy is super credits. And as of right now, I don't see a use for them.
There's currently no use for them because the armor system doesn't currently work.
Well, that would explain why. Because it's like, you can buy these cool armors. I'm like, well, they all look the same. The stats are all the same. So
the only benefit, there's no benefit to wearing heavy armor. It just makes you slower.
that's what I was thinking.
Like apparently the armor's bugged at the moment.
But apparently they're rolling out the mechs slowly. Like they've done some test servers and the mechs look cool.
You can already have them in the game if you're in a hacked lobby because they already fucking exist in the game files.
That's what I'm saying. They're already around.
So, yeah.
But yeah. Look, as I haven't been playing another game, can't talk about it yet. But Max, I said, because it was launch day this week, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, the code came through from Square, they sent through and I went, you're amazing, thank you. This, in fact, may kill Max in excitement. They thought it was hysterical. It was great. So I send it through to you. I'm like, hey, Max. Because, like, mind you, days leading up to this, you're like, fucking, like all our media buddies, they're playing Final Fantasy. They probably finished it already. We'll probably get it day one. Because, one of the things that we love complaining about is the entitled world that we live in of going, well, we probably won't get a code until release day.
I'm still stoked that I am in the position that I am.
Oh, yeah, no, I get that. But like,
I'm so stoked. And it played to my advantage this time around because I really wanted to finish Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. And
so, as the point I'm making is when we joke around each other about this, like we are very grateful, but it's just fun to be like, well, we didn't get it this time. We're just getting it for free over here. Like, we're very self-aware.
So I'm sitting here with the game, with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth installed. Shout out to Square and Bandai Australia.
Thank you.
Still haven't played it.
That's the insane part. Like, this is the game that you have tattooed on your arm. Like, nothing makes you more moist in this world than maybe your wife is Final Fantasy VII. And for whatever, yes, it's a reasonable reason. But you're like, I want to finish Yakuza Like a Dragon first. Which is to your credit, because like I haven't gone back. And I really should, because that game is awesome.
Well, like I said to you, I'm like, once I sip that Rebirth Kool-Aid, I'm not looking back, and I have a feeling that once I stepped away from Infinite Wealth, I had a feeling I wouldn't go back.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm finishing this game before I dive into Rebirth, and I did.
You did, like last night, the time of recording.
Finished it last night at the time of recording. My playtime was 56-ish hours.
Not bad. Because I think I'm like 17 hours into it.
Yeah, so there's 14 chapters of the game. The end chapters are very long. So I think chapter 13 alone took me like 5-6 hours. So I've been talking about it every week for what feels like months now. A huge shout out to 5-Star.
Yeah, big shout out.
For out of nowhere going, hey, you guys want to check this out? And I'm like, sure.
That was awesome. Yeah, it was completely. We talked about it when we first did our first impressions. But yeah, we got an email being like, hey, I think you guys will enjoy this. Here's Like a Dragon. And I went, yeah, fuck it, why not? I literally sent him an email back being like, dude, you have no idea how much this is tickling both our fancies. Like, without even realizing. Like, neither of us have really played it outside of the man who raised his name at PAX. Like, we gave a little demo of it. Oh, that's pretty cool. But, like, Infinite Wealth is a whole other beast.
Yeah. So, this we've mentioned it before, this is game 8 in the series.
Correct.
It's a direct continuation from the previous title, which was Yakuza Like a Dragon. Before they made the name change of Like a Dragon was becoming the headline. It is a turn-based RPG, unlike the first 6 titles, which I believe are essentially like beat 'em ups. And you are following the story of Ichiban Kasuga and his life transition after he left the Yakuza. He gets sent essentially to find a person. He's sent to find his mother, who he's never met, and then
And that's
stories.
that's how he ends up from Japan into
Yeah,
Hawaii, and the remainder of the game predominantly is set within Hawaii.
yeah. So you do some jumping back and forth between Japan and Hawaii in the later ends of the
Predominantly.
game. It is a blast. I had so much fun. You mentioned a couple of weeks ago that you likened Kasuga to Goku
Yes.
in his demeanor,
And he's like, so he's boyish
mannerisms.
optimism. He's kind of charming. He's like, hey, let's just see where the world takes me, even though he's like unreasonably powerful.
No matter what happens to him, he keeps that all
Awesome.
throughout this story. Like, it is so brilliant. Like, we had a quick chat before the show. This story goes to some very interesting and very serious spaces, and he keeps that childlike optimism throughout the whole thing, and it's a really nice balance to the story. His optimism versus like the very serious nature of the story that they're telling throughout the adventure. So so I finished it last night. The game does get a little grindy by the end of it. So each story beat does have a, hey, we recommend you to be this level. We recommend your gear to be at this star ranking before you continue. You can ignore that if you wish. I did a few times and it wasn't too bad. By the end, they're like, hey, you should be around level 45. I'm like, cool, I'm level 47. I'll give it a burl. Could not beat the end game boss. Just couldn't do it. And it was past a point of no return, so I had to boot up a previous save that I had made right before that point.
Smart.
Went back into the endless dungeon, did some grinding, got to level 55. I'm like, I'm just gonna fucking over level myself. Went back in, beat the boss first time. Great. There's so much to do between. There's so much to do in this game. So once you reach Hawaii, the game kind of opens up a fair bit, and that's when you can go and level up your personality attributes, so your kindness, your toughness. All of those are linked to what you can and can't do throughout the game. So to unlock extra classes for your characters, you have to be you have to have the right kindness level or the intellect level. Because you go on these aloha tours around Hawaii and you learn to do different things. So if you're very brave or daring, you can go and look at the fire dancers.
Ooh. And
And then you unlock that as a class. You can go scuba diving and then you get a water mage class. It's so funny how they link the real life things to classes for your characters. You can do jobs to earn money. So one of the early ones is you essentially become an Uber driver on a bicycle.
Yeah.
One of the other mechanics in this game is an app on your phone called Pound Mates, where you can unlock characters in the game to help you in battles. You can summon them. They're essentially the summons in this game. So the first one you unlock is the guy who teaches you how to ride a bike to deliver food. He's one of the most useful ones because he heals you. You can do the story, the sub story. They're called sub stories, but they're essentially side quests. They come up fairly organically as you're traveling through Hawaii and exploring the map. At one point, I was crossing a road and a director stopped me. He's like, "Hey, you look like you could be an action movie star. I want you to help me film this scene. I need you to run on the wrong side of the road and dodge oncoming traffic for a while." Cool. Mint. No worries. So you can use mini games to level up. You can go to batting cages and just practice swinging your bat. You'll get stronger. You'll gain XP. You gain money from doing all these random things. And then with your teammates, they'll have like reminiscing points around the map where you can go and have these little one-on-one conversations just in text on the side of your screen. It's like, hey, I really like eating here. They have my favorite food. And then your bond with that character grows. And when your character when the character bond grows, you can go and do these things called link drinks. You go to a bar with the character and you do have a deeper, meaningful conversation. There's a little cutscene, and you get to play out a few like dialogue option choices, and then depending on what you pick, it'll upgrade certain personality traits. And then they're like, our bond has increased, so I'm more likely to do a follow-up attack in combat with you. If you knock them down, I'll come and kick them in the face. Cool, sweet, love it. You get like tag team attack, like special tag team attacks once you've deepened the bonds with your characters, and over the course of the story, the party becomes quite large. There's about like 8 or 9 characters by the end. You separate into 2 different groups, and it just, despite this being my first Yakuza game that I've played, and these are obviously well-established characters that have been in almost all of them previously, they do such a fantastic job of onboarding you to be like, hey, this
really
is
organically too.
And like, to begin with, it is very surface level, but by the end of the game, once you've done all these like reminiscing activities and all this, you kind of see how they became who they are now. And it's such a fascinating way to do character development on a character that is clearly already fully developed in an 8th game of a series, to still show someone new to the series exactly who this person is, how they got to where they are, why they are the way they are. And it was just fantastic.
Because one of the advantages, because with the main character you play, Ichiban Kasuga, like he only exists in 7 and 8. So he's aware of these individuals from like their history and who they are, but like it gives you that kind of nice in to be like, well, he kind of knows them, but not like super well. So then it allows them to sort of touch upon these extra beats that let you know who they are.
The character design is wacky. So as we discussed, because he sees himself as this hero figure, when in combat, he the character models change. So instead of just being like random street thugs, they will transform into hilarious puns for most part. So when I was playing in one of the infinite dungeons at the back end of the game, my wife walked past and she's like, "What the hell are you playing?" And it was just a bunch of fat naked men with pool floats rubbing themselves on me, using the attack called spreading the lube.
Hot.
And that's exactly what it was. But it's funny having this contrast of absolutely ridiculous character models in these battles, but telling this super serious criminal underground story. It's just nice. I'm super glad I played it. I'm super glad I finished it. It was absolutely fantastic, and it's definitely going to be in my top games of the year list.
Yeah, I certainly hope to go back to it.
I had an absolute blast with it.
Exceptional. Well, I'm glad to hear, Max. Like that's so good, because like, yeah, for a game that we would have never had considered had we had not been very kindly provided that code, like to have such a strong emotional connection to it and just a good time it's such a testament to the game.
It was awesome.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, I don't think there's anything else I played. Oh, my son was playing Power Wash Simulator today, and nothing made me visualize his ADHD more than that, because he wouldn't just clean he wouldn't clean one item and then move on. He'd go, oh, what's over there? And there's just half clean shit everywhere, and it just hurt me. It hurt me so bad. So we played some House Flipper, and he did the same thing. He was like, oh, I'm going to tile this bathroom. We're done. Turns around, 3 panels are missing. Just goes into the next room. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, I've been playing the Bluey video game with my daughter.
Yeah.
And her leaving a room when there's still fucking shiny objects to collect does my head in.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's bad. Oh, speaking of bad, let's get into the section we call Inform the Players. We tell you about what happened this week. Now, this is going to be a dense news section, so we'll do what we can. Hopefully the show won't be like 1,000 hours long. We'll rip through it the best we can, and we'll comment on... I'm opinionated. We all know this. I'm going to say some things, so it may be a long show, but we'll do the best we can.
All right. Well, we'll kick things off with the essential games that are coming to PlayStation on Tuesday. Sifu, PS5, PS4. Formula 1 23, PS5, PS4. Hello Neighbor 2, PS5, PS4. And Destiny 2, The Witch Queen expansion, PS5, PS4.
Sifu's dope. I wasn't good. I just wasn't good at it. F1 makes sense. The F1 tour's about to start, I think. Hello Neighbor 2, my kid loves it. Destiny 2, The Witch Queen, like that's like what, 2 expansions ago?
Something like that.
So it's cool.
It's a good expansion.
Yeah, from all accounts, it was pretty fantastic. 2 expansions ago, says the Reverend Puck in chat. The Reverend Puck always keeping us fact checked. What a legend.
I think it was the last good one.
Yeah, no. All right, so let's get into the dense stuff. This entire section is just called layoffs, closures, sales, and buyouts. So we'll do these one by one, Max, and then we'll come together.
That's a weird thing to do after this news, but sure.
No, but I mean, as in, like, we'll do one, discuss it, move on to the next, etc.
I know what you mean.
Fire Sprite Expose.
It's expose, but I couldn't work out how to fucking get the stupid little thing.
Fire Sprite Expose, Max writes.
Yeah.
Not an exposed Fire Sprite. Ooh. Sony studio Fire Sprite, which was acquired in 2021, despite moving into an expensive new digs in its home city of Liverpool, a Eurogamer report paints an extremely grim picture of the outfit, which is allegedly bleeding staff and lost its managing director, Graham Ankers, suddenly last May. The UK-based team, which worked on Horizon Call the Mountain for PSVR 2, was hit by a round of layoffs earlier this week, and it's been alleged that its in-development Twisted Metal reboot was cancelled as a result. But while it's supposedly working on a tentpole PlayStation franchise, rumoured to be an Untitled Dawn sequel, staff says it's suffering from, quote, death by 1,000 cuts, end quote. The Eurogamer report claims a, quote, alarming, end quote, number of employees have left the studio in recent months, following a bonus payout from Sony last year, which was designed to retain staff after their organization's acquisition. With many of the previous managers gone, Sony has apparently pulled in staff from XDev to lead the team, which has been criticized as, quote, nepotism, end quote. It's alleged that these new leaders were caught up in an internal investigation recently accused of ageism and sexual discrimination. Sources claim Sony dismissed these allegations as a misunderstanding, although some apparently sought external legal guidance to explore the matter further, and allegedly received payouts in return. The biggest problem, according to those speaking to Eurogamer, appears to be the gradual erosion of the studio's culture. Quote, Sony has committed the worst possible mistake in buying a studio and meddling to the point where it may end up in a death spiral and unable to complete any of the projects it was working on, end quote, a source supposedly said.
Sounds similar to the Bungie buyout that Sony paid a bunch of bonuses to keep staff retention, then Bungie laid off a ton of people.
See, that was, that's a Bungie call. That wasn't made by PlayStation, but
yeah.
It is kind of concerning because there's a whole other bunch of other stuff that's going to be coming out as well. But in terms of the games that they've developed, so if we have a quick look over at Fire Sprite, they've done what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But five have released. They released the Playroom, which was the PlayStation 4 camera game with the Astrobot. Run Sackboy Run, which is a game that came on the Vita. With PlayStation VR, they released Air Force Special Ops Nightfall and The Persistence. And then, of course, as we mentioned, the most recent release being PlayStation 5's Horizon Call of the Mountain. So I have some things to say about this, but it also goes in line with what would be the next one.
Yeah, so Sony has confirmed around 900 PlayStation employees, or around 8% of its workforce, are being laid off in order to, quote, future-ready ourselves to set the business up for what lies ahead. As a result of the downsizing, PlayStation's own London studio is being closed completely. Fire Sprite was reduced in size. The staff reductions will also hit Naughty Dog, Insomniac Games, and Guerrilla Games. Some unannounced games have been cancelled. Obviously the London studio game that was set in like an alternate London, that was to be a co-op, an online co-op.
Yeah, I want
game.
to touch upon that. Yeah,
it's obviously gone because the whole studio is closed. The soon-to-be departing president and CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment, Jimbo Ryan, explained, quote, "The PlayStation community means everything to us, so I felt it was important to update you on a difficult day at our company. We have made the extremely hard decision to announce our plan to commence a reduction of our overall headcount globally by about 8% or about 900 people. Subject to local law and consultation processes, employees across the globe, including our studios, are impacted," end quote. Ryan says that the gaming industry has changed, quote, "immensely," end quote, and so Sony needs to, quote, "future ready itself for the coming years. We need to deliver on expectations from developers and gamers and continue to propel future technology in gaming. So we took a step back to ensure we are set up to continue bringing the best gaming experiences to the community," end quote. Workers losing their jobs in the USA will be informed on Friday, I believe this happened, or Thursday, to whom Ryan said, quote, "You are leaving this company with our deepest respect and appreciation for all your efforts during your tenure. This will not be easy, and I am aware of the impact it will have on well-being. Affected employees will receive support, including severance benefits. While these are challenging times, it is not indicative of a lack of strength of our company, our brand, or our industry," end quote.
So I've got obviously a bunch of things to say, as I always do. Max, go first.
It's a bold statement to say that this is not indicative of lack of strength of our company, our brand, or our industry, when if you need to cut 900 jobs for your brand or company to keep going in an industry that already lost 10,500 jobs the previous year, and we're already sitting at I think it's 6,500 so far this year alone, there's clearly something wrong with the industry.
Yes, there is, and the answer to that is COVID. They saw an explosion during a time where we were all stuck inside, couldn't do anything else, and rather than, because a lot of them are publicly traded companies, right? So a lot of their pressure comes from stakeholders and financial investors. So when they suddenly see an influx of money during COVID, they go, "Well, why aren't you growing?" Where the answer should have been, hold on to that money, build internally. Don't bring in other people, just make better shit and use this little nest egg because it's going to pop. And due to those external pressures, or straight up stupidity in some cases, they made the decision to expand and hire more people. And then as the world's financial situation changed, they were put in a position. And on top of the blowing out costs of game production, where some of these companies were in the black, they were making money. It wasn't as if they were without money. The short answer is, from my understanding, is that just the margins were insufficient. So we need a 30% return on investment, but because of the cost of everything, it's only 8%, or it's only 25%, and we best lay off some folk to make our margins better.
Well, see, it's funny. I can't remember where I heard the anecdote, but it's it was a reference to Square, and I think it's sales for Final Fantasy 16, where they're like, "Oh, we only sold
7 million copies, yeah.
We only sold X million copies. Oh, that's bullshit." And then Remedy we fucking sold 1.5 million units of Alan Wake 2. Fucking awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just one of those understandings, right? Because one of the, as shitty as it was that we had the Insomniac leaks and we had all that information come out, we have the advantage now of seeing, what do you say? Behind the kimono, peek through the kimono, where we're seeing what the costs of these games are. So, there are games that's just say, sells 1 million copies, therefore it makes X amount of millions of dollars. Some of that is barely a dent in the production costs of many, many games. So, yes, you're making a lot of money, but it's not profit. Right, a lot of it then so let's just say the example that I heard used was Helldivers. Let's say Helldivers made, what was the number they gave? They gave $200 million. Let's say it made $200 million in sales alone, excluding the little super currency, right? That is a third of Last of Us Part 3, or the third of Spider-Man 3, potentially, right? $200 million should blow your socks off. Instead, it's small dents. Now, looking over at some of these studios, so obviously we know Firesprite, the last thing they did, the main things that they have done have been kind of VR related or little gimmicky related. Sony, so London studio, not to dismiss their work, but the best way to explain it, they are a gimmick studio. They are best known for SingStar and iToy and PlayStation Home, and they had been one of the tentpole in-house studios for PlayStation VR. They were the ones that made PSVR Worlds, the one that comes with your PSVR 1, an incredible experience, by the way. Like the underwater one, incredible. The heist, one of the best things I ever played. I remember distinctly playing that at PAX 2015 or 16 and going hands-on with the heist for the first time, going, this is absolutely game-changing. And then a couple years later, they released Blood and Truth, which is a full VR game, incredibly reminiscent of what I would consider London Studios' greatest, like, you know, sort of achievement, not achievement, but their most famous for, would be the Getaway series. Like, Blood and Truth felt like what Getaway 3 should be, but it wouldn't. But we're never going to see that again. So with the closure of London Studio, and we haven't even touched upon their games as a service game, we'll get to that in a moment. With the closure of London Studio and the gutting, essentially, and the downward spiral, as they referred to it, of Fire Sprite, I could say with reasonable confidence that PlayStation, they're going to have limited to zero internal VR support. The two studios that they have relied on to work this space, as we mentioned, Call the Mountain, the only first-party release to align with PSVR 2, they're done. They're not done, but they're rattling, right? And then on the back of the news of, we're looking at ways to be able to hook your PSVR 2 up to your computer, so you can play, you know, PC VR games through your PlayStation VR headset.
Yeah, so I'll quickly interject with, on the PlayStation blog, quote, "We're pleased to share that we are currently testing the ability for PSVR 2 players to access additional games on PC to offer even more games variety in addition to the PSVR 2 titles available through the PlayStation 5. We hope to make this support available in 2024. Please stay tuned for updates."
So the future of VR is almost done. It's done. And I understand, and I don't like the decision, but I understand it. Now, it's once again very similar to the PlayStation Vita in that they didn't support it, therefore it died. I'm expecting the same thing to happen with PSVR 2. I'm surprised.
Which is exactly what happened with PSVR 1.
Correct. And I think the whole pandemic and releasing it like in a time where people couldn't even buy the console was really tough, and it certainly paid an impact. But their failure to support it post just made that worse.
Well, I had that conversation with someone the other day. They're like, "Why would I spend $800 on a VR system that doesn't have any games?" I'm like,
there are games.
There are games, but it's hard because it's one of those things of that people don't want to make games for a piece of hardware that no one's buying into, which makes people not want to buy into the hardware because there's not enough games to support that big purchase, which means there's not enough games to support that hardware, and it's just a vicious circle of, like, if people aren't buying it, people aren't going to develop for it, but if people aren't developing for it, people don't want to opt in for that massive onboarding cost.
Yeah, and with the industry as it is right now, you know, like risk aversion is huge, and they're not willing to invest in these games for a headset because, like, you know, because people that have the headsets, it's known the attachment rate is really strong because people want their investment to mean something, so they'll buy games that come to the headset if they're of good quality and they look interesting, right? So by you failing to do that, you know, like you go, oh cool, here's a game, and we'll know at least, let's say we sell 3 million, 4 million headsets, which they did, and I think it's like 2 and a bit. And they're like, well, we know that, say, 30% of them, 40% of them will buy it because that's the attach rate that we're seeing. But apparently that's not enough. Which, understandable, cost of development, not enough. But that's tough. And on the back of this as well, and this is kind of why, if we were to look at PlayStation, you know, the inevitability of what has happened this week, because looking at the industry at large, you know, we're looking at like which studios would they gut or remove. Sony London was the easy choice because right now they're working on like that fantasy modern fantasy games as a service, right? On the back of what's happened with Jim Ryan and his sudden departure as head of Worldwide Studios, and then the slowdown of these games as a service, it was only going to be, it was just counting down the clock for London Studio, because their two gimmicks, VR and this new games as a service. The second we take those away, or we're not supporting them correctly, you are useless, quote unquote, in theory. So it sucks hard, but I do wonder, like, did they have to do it really? And I guess sort of, but no. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know enough of their back end to make sense of it. But it shows a more of a, I think harrowing's too strong of a word, but it shows a side of the industry and what the future holds. And the future is going to be weirdly similar to the movie industry, where it's blockbusters or nothing. And I hate that, because some of the best parts about movies and some of the best video games are those mid-budget AA's. Like, they're not indies, but they've got a bit of cash behind them. There's a lot of fun, great potential in there. And if that middle gets pulled out, like it has in the movies, like, think about some of the really, really good movies from the 90s and 2000s. A lot of them were not big blockbusters. Like, the reason we don't see powerful dramas or like romantic comedies or just comedies in general is because they don't make blockbuster money, because no one goes to cinema anymore. You know, it's one of those things where, like, when Sony made the decision to go down a live service route, like, they had the idea of making all the money in the world. And when they realized that bubble is very much coming to the end, so much so that even Naughty Dog, like one of the tentpole studios that PlayStation has to offer, is unable to bring a multiplayer online game to the front.
I think it was
any other studio that would try within PlayStation have no hope.
Well, I think it's not just that. I think that they realize that they're like, we're making 12 live service games, and people don't play fucking 12 live service games at once, and we're only going to make money off one of these bastards.
I think it goes aligned with what I was saying before, right? You could release 12 of them and make some money. You could make some here, a bit more there, a little less there, but like collectively, it's still money. But very similar to the movies, why make some money when you should try to make all the money? Right? There's nothing being content with going, hey, we made a profit, huzzah, but we didn't make enough profit. And that's the beef here, I think. And what we're going to be seeing from here on out is all the movements that we saw in the last couple years, the consolidations, the growth, all these fucking dumb decisions that, like, they're now coming back. And interestingly, like, the next couple, actually, is it my turn? It's my turn.
Are you going to jump to toys?
I am going to jump for toys.
Go for it.
All right. So once again, talking about acquisitions and then like suddenly letting go, Embracer Group, they've got news this week as well. But interestingly, out of the Activision Blizzard King merger with Microsoft, Toys for Bob, the developer behind titles like Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time, and the Spyro Reignited trilogy, has announced that it's becoming an independent studio. Previously, the Californication outfit had operated under Activision, but it was hit with layoffs after Microsoft's acquisition of the publisher. Toys for Bob also had its offers shuttered as part of the consolidation process. Quote, "We believe that now is the time to take the studio and our future games to the next level. This opportunity allows us to return to our roots of being a small and nimble studio." Quote, end quote, reads the developer's official statement. Indeed, Activision snapped Toys for Bob up all the way back in 2005. However, it sounds like the studio could stick close to the companies that it's known so well. It's apparently, quote, exploring a possible partnership, end quote, with Microsoft, and is, quote, confident, end quote, of working together with Activision again. Quote, "While we're in the early days of developing our next new game and a ways away from making any announcement, our team is excited to develop new stories, new characters, and new gameplay experiences," end quote, the studio states.
I'm just going to condense down the next few as part of the Embracer Group.
Sounds good.
So Saber Interactive, one of Embracer Group's largest development houses, they purchased them back a while ago for about $200 million. They are reportedly being sold off for $500 million. So a big win for Embracer Group, double and a half of their money. Saber known for doing the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake currently, but they also made World War Z Aftermath, Evil Dead the Game, SnowRunner, Teardown. They're being sold off. Another studio inside of Embracer, Gearbox, makers of Borderland, are also following Saber Interactive in being bought out from Embracer Group. It's according to Kotaku, the decision was made to sell, and the deal is in the late stages of being finalized for Gearbox Entertainment. These aren't Embracer stuff, but 505 Games, the Italian publisher, have shut down a lot of their European offices. 505 being the guys who published Remedy's games,
which we should also comment. The Remedy have purchased the rights to Control. So with the shuttering of these studios, which may be related to them not needing people in Europe because Remedy aren't with them anymore. Yeah, they bought the rights to Control back, which
correct,
incredible.
Yep. For $17 million, it cost them. Or 17 million euros.
It's absolutely insane. But so that's kind of all the major beats from in terms of
and they're kind of the good news in this this section.
So let's touch on these first, Max. Obviously, with Embracer Group specifically, we have seen this grow and grow and grow, and they're just buying up everyone. Now, we have both sort of agreed in the past that these purchases weren't made for the studios. They were made for IP. Yes. Embracer Group were just IP hoarding. And they didn't give a shit about what happened to the studios afterwards. And I think we're seeing that here. Now, granted, I believe that the likes of Gearbox will still leave with like Borderlands, etc. in their hands. Saber has always been sort of a studio for hire for various IPs, so I don't think they will lose anything major out of this.
Well, they are, by the sound of it, they are taking Knights of the Old Republic with them.
Sick. Well, that's good because someone needs to work on that remake, right?
So,
but and then on top of that, we mentioned.
Well, I think the annoying thing is it kind of worked for Embracer because they bought them for $200 million. They've just sold them for $5 million.
Yeah, 100%. Like that, it is one of those situations where I think a lot of these studios just need money. Yeah. And, in terms of like these bigger companies, these bigger publishing arms. So they'll like, what's the offer? All right, sure. You know what I mean? Like as long as they make a profit, then they will be all down for it. Like same for Toys for Bob, right? Now I was getting them mixed with, who did the Tony Hawk? Was it Volition? No, not Volition. Volition did Saints Row. Shit. They weren't Toys for Bob, though. They started with T, but they then got moved into Activision. Even after the success of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1-2 remake,
Well, see, 1-2 remake was Blizzard Albany, who did Double 4.
No, that wasn't them.
Yeah, Blizzard Albany.
Somebody else. Let's see. Tony Hawk.
Vicarious Visions.
Vicarious Visions. It was V, not even close to T. Neversoft was the original puck, but Vicarious Visions was the one that I meant. I get them two mixed up because they were sort of popular around the same time. It's one of those things where Vicarious Visions had the potential to do something amazing, got lumped in with the Call of Duty train, and Toys for Bob, like, presumably they were working on a new Spyro potentially, or a new Crash Bandicoot after like 4 did pretty well from my understanding. But then if they suddenly aren't interested in doing another Crash because it didn't make enough money last time, or especially after the release of Crash Team Rumble, which is getting its server shut down in the near future, clearly there's not an interest in those two studios, those two IP or those two games, and with Toys for Bob essentially being the specialists in those games, they're like, well, we're not making any Crash Bandicoot games anytime soon. We're probably not going to make a new Spyro game anytime soon. You want to go? Like, I feel like that's kind of where the conversation went, because though the skill sets would be somewhat translatable to other things, but unless they, if we look at what Microsoft will likely have planned for the future of the Activision studios. Like, I remember when the acquisition happened, everyone's like, oh, all these little side games, they're going to come back. Microsoft's going to make it happen. Like, no, they're not. They're just going to fucking keep making Call of Duty. And this is the sign that that's exactly their plan.
I mean, to be fair, we also knew that wouldn't happen because they bought fucking Rare and we lost all
the
Rare.
We knew that. You and I knew that. The internet... The gaming community are all like, "Oh man, all my favorite games are gonna come back." I'm like, "No, they're fucking not."
I've given up on World of Warcraft becoming part of my Games Pass subscription.
Yeah, no, they need the cash. They need the cash. So that's interesting. And even once again, like going back to Firesprite as well, they were working on the Twisted Metal game as we mentioned. Like that game. You know, just had a weirdly popular TV series. Sorry, that IP just had a weirdly popular TV series. And yet, that isn't enough for them to go, oh, I probably should keep them working on that game, huh? Like, granted, like there's probably some concerns, because I think Twisted Metal was originally being looked after by, I want to say Lucid, and they were the team that made Battle, the car racing game that came out with the PS5.
Oh, yeah.
All-Star Battle Royal or some bullshit, whatever the fuck it was called. That one. The fact that I remember its name tells you exactly, you know, it's pretty shitty. So, going down again the line with these IPs, right? Like, if they go, well, the thing that we had you working on, we don't really care in that anymore, why are we going to keep you around? It sucks. It really, really sucks. But once again, it's just absolute corporate greed rearing its ugly head, and this is what you're going to do. Like, thousands of jobs is kind of fucked.
So, just a day after Sony confirmed it's laying off 900 PlayStation employees, EA announced that they are doing the same in the region of 670 workers, or around 5% of the company's workforce. Will lose their jobs as the EA Sports FC Battlefield distributor moves, quote, away from development of future licensed IP that we do not believe will be successful in changing industry, end quote. So, heads up, they cancelled Respawn's Mandalorian game because it's a licensed IP.
Yep.
So, instead, the firm is going to double down on, quote, our owned IP, sports, and massive online communities, which means it's bringing post-launch development on the current titles that don't fit that bill to an end. According to GamesIndustry.biz, one unannounced game has been cancelled and the team distributed to other projects within EA, with the game's media journalist claiming it's Star Wars FPS from Respawn, based on The Mandalorian. In a statement, CEO Andrew Wilson has said the company, quote, deeply considered every option to try and limit impacts to our teams, with those affected by the layoffs having either already learned or will be told by the beginning of the next quarter. Wilson claimed, the greater focus allows us to drive creativity, accelerate innovation, and double down on our biggest opportunities, including our owned IP, sports, and massive online communities to deliver the entertainment players want today and tomorrow. Bet you everyone wants that fucking Star Wars game, dude. From Respawn.
Everyone, once again, after the powerful fucking success of Jedi Fallen Order and then Jedi Survivor, what are you doing? But once again, I imagine the cost of licensing a Star Wars game was exorbitant, which is weird because I think Star Wars, its IP, its power, its cachet in popular culture is its the lowest it's been in fucking ever. I think they had the power to like make it relevant because the movies ain't doing it. Especially with The Mandalorian, like one of the only good things that they've made in the last X amount of years. But once again, all this means is they're going to double down on FC, which is like, okay, you enjoyed it, but like once again, they know where their money is, and their money is in Ultimate Team. And then you've got your Maddens, which will always make money.
It's funny because they're no longer paying for that FIFA license, so it's just pure money now.
But then again, like if people are doing that, like are they going to go to the FIFA alternate? Because that's what the people they care about. Like, because people buy those cards because they're players that they care about. If they don't care about the players, then who fucking cares? It's like for me, like once again, you love your good trading card games.
I do.
We always get like intrigued by like Magic the Gathering. They're like, hey, we're doing a thing with Transformers. I was like, ooh. And they're like,
I really want those fucking Assassin's Creed cards.
Yeah, and they're doing with like Assassin's Creed, they're doing with Doctor Who, and I'm like, man, if they ever did a wrestling one, like I think that'd be what would get it for me. And then
Final Fantasy one coming out soon.
Oh no.
Things I'd do for that.
But like, it's one of those things where, yeah, they did a wrestling one, and then I discovered My Faction, right? Which is a mode in WWE 2K23 and 24. I've been playing the one in 23, where it's essentially collectible wrestling cards. And I was like, oh no. So like, I only care about it because it's wrestling. Like, I'm surrounded by trading card games. We all are at any given time, and none of them will ever get me across the line with something that I truly care about. And it has to be the PlayStation related or it's wrestling related. And seeing as neither of those two really exist, like there's WWE Supercard, but once again, that's not very fun. The point I'm trying to make here is that with Ultimate Team, if they're like, it's Jonathan, like who's he? I don't know. Is he Ronaldo? No. Then why would I care?
I mean, to be fair, the FC still has the actual players.
This time. Once again, as time progresses, like you would understandably assume that they would go where the FIFA license is, right? Because yes, they only don't have access to the FIFA World Cup and essentially the FIFA name within FC. Like it still has all the extra leagues and stuff like that. But like, if the other one does well, and then you'll be like, well, people will start moving. They can have the licenses all they want, but if they head over here, and because my understanding is because it's a yearly thing, it's an annual thing, if they get pulled over, like it's not as if all their Ultimate Team cards are suddenly, like they lose their value the second they release another game anyway. I think, right? Maybe. I don't know. I don't Ultimate Team. Yeah, it's a road that I'm not like. Even with My Faction, I'm like, ooh, like no, this is a dangerous road, Ryan. What are you doing? Don't do it. Yeah. Don't buy these digital fucking cards because if they were physical cards, you'd at least have something. But no.
NFTs, baby.
Ew, gross. All right, and finally in the financial news, Until Dawn and Dark Pictures Anthology team Supermassive Games will be laying off 90 workers in the near future. It has been recently confirmed. The studio employs more than 300 people in Guildford in the UK and has informed 150 of them that they are, quote, at risk, end quote, of being the 90 people who will soon lose their job. That's great. Just scare the shit out of 60 people for no reason.
Yeah, what a dick move to tell 50% of your staff that 30% of them are leaving.
Yeah. So why don't you just tell the people that are getting made redundant? Like, don't scare the shit. Unless they did it in order to, like, get people to, like, request redundancies and then scoot. They're like, oh, cool, we don't have to lay off less people because they asked for it. Whew. That's the other thing. Like, is this just some vetting process so they can get rid of shitty staff?
Yeah. Well, I think the UK, care packages on the way out is way better than what it is in the US.
Yeah. Like, actually, just on a side note, we'll come back to this. Like, is the UK, like, okay? Because, like, the studios that we saw get affected, Firesprite, what was the other one? 505, Supermassive, all UK, Europe based. Like, what the fuck's going on over there?
Brexit.
Yeah, probably. Or Brexit, still.
Brexit and COVID.
Yeah. The developer published a statement on Twitter shortly after the news broke via Bloomberg. It explained, quote, after much deliberation and with deep regret, we are therefore undertaking a reorganization of Supermassive Games. As a result, we are entering into a period of consultation, which we anticipate will result in the loss of some of our colleagues, end quote.
So what that means is they're paying someone else to come in and tell them how to save money.
Dude, I do. Oh man, I have such an issue with consultants, man. Like they are like consultants own like their entire fucking thing. Like they don't come into like, well, let's change these systems to make it run better. Anytime that I have been in an organization or know of an organization that has had some sort of consultation, it's always some fuckhead in a suit who comes in and goes, there's a lot of inefficiencies over here and some there. Just lay off 900 people, eh? Like, don't keep the people that you have and train them in new systems that are fucking better, that assist those inefficiencies. Just sack them. Like, fuck is wrong with all you ask? Oh, what the fuck is wrong with you all? It goes on to claim efforts were made to avoid such an outcome. Sure they were. And those affected will be treated, quote, respectfully and compassionately. I'm sorry that you are made redundant and you can no longer feed your family, but we respect you. Respect doesn't feed people. For a number of years now, Supermassive Games has been working on the Dark Pictures anthology while releasing a few standalone titles like The Quarry just a few months ago. It announced work on a single-player Dead by Daylight game, and it also has the next Dark Pictures game, Directive 8020, in development for PS5 and PS4. It's unclear how much of an impact these layoffs will have on the two confirmed projects. The team's biggest hit to date, Until Dawn, has just been announced that it'll be remastered for PS5 and PC later this year, although they are not working on it. So that's a kick in the dick. Hey, remember that game that you guys became successful off of? We're going to remake it. Not with you. You lose your job. It's challenging, right? Like, I understand the Dark Pictures anthology was a bold-ass decision. Like, to release a series of games originally yearly that are all based on that Telltale studio that fucking shit itself model. What were you thinking? And then we saw like the sales progressively get worse on each of them. Now, granted, I would argue that like every second game was good. First one, Man of Medan, a bit shit. Little Hope, impeccable. Third one, whatever it was called, a bit shit. The fourth one, the one in the
with Ashley Tisdale.
yeah, the fourth one was the one in the catacombs or whatever. And that was like a monster survival game. Yeah, it was like Alien. That was all right. And then the Shattered Hope, sure. And then the next one, which was the one in the House of Pain, jump around. That was really good. I didn't finish it, but it was good. And The Quarry was all right, but the problem that I have with these games as a whole is their quality was inconsistent in terms of their visual fidelity, like their systems, their mechanics, the whole fucking thing. Some characters looked incredible, some looked like garbage. Like there was just such a disparity within the same game. Like
it was Man of Medan, which was pretty average.
Yep.
Little Hope was great. House of Ashes was
there it is,
and The Devil in Me was great.
I wasn't even close.
No, not at all.
Now, if I was smart, which I am not, I should Photoshop a Dark Pictures anthology, House of Pain, and then put House of Pain on there, and it would be awesome. But I don't have the time and or effort to make that happen. I'm not saying the Supermassive Games deserve it. None of these studios deserve to lose their jobs. It fucking sucks. I got made redundant. It was poo hole. And I'm just one guy. I'm not 900 people. But yeah, it's that's it. All the news this week was just people losing jobs.
Sorry,
and
I can hear
businesses being business.
I can lose.
Oh, I heard. Oh, that's deep baby cries. And then Craig, the Mullet Show, in our chat, I've been made redundant 3 times. He says, "That's fucked."
Not from the same place, I hope.
Yeah, you're redundant, rehired at a lesser contract, made redundant again. Like, it's shit. It's the commodification of people is gross, and it always and like it's one of the downsides of capitalism. And like I'll happily shit on capitalism all the time, but in the same breath, communism not that much, like not really that good. And I also really like the benefits of capitalism. It allows me to have the internet and a platform where I can talk my garbage at you, and you know all these things. So like it has moments where it's shitty, but there's moments where it's pretty fucking good. And sad news is, especially these days in the old late stages, it's just predominantly shitty.
Yeah. All right. Quick bits, everybody. In a funny change of pace, EA and Square Y2K'd themselves this leap year.
What?
So Square, you could not play Theatre Rhythm on the leap year day because the day doesn't exist according to online servers. So to fix the issue, you had to change the date on your PlayStation console to fucking play the game because the game wouldn't boot. The same thing happened over at EA with one of their rally games, I believe.
That's dope. You play the game and the game just goes.
You couldn't ping the server to play the game because the date doesn't exist because the fucking leap year.
Why didn't they just put a fucking calendar in the game? That's it. It's just a calendar. That's all you got to do. Oh my god.
2 separate titles have changed their Steam pages to replicate that of Helldivers 2 to get some easy sales.
I did say that, you sneaky pieces of shit.
Bellataro, the new card game, has been removed from console stores in an age rate dispute.
Why is
The
there like
Peggy system.
is there a
I don't
card
know.
for Weens?
I have no idea.
Is it a Ween? Oh, give me a Ween power card.
Rise of the Ronin gameplay shows off 8 different weapon styles, I believe. That looks pretty cool. Dragon Age Dreadwolf is rumored to release later this year, which I think is a fucking load of shit.
I could
Whatever.
not give the singlest of shits about Dragon Age Dreadwolf.
And the biggest news from last week that we missed was fucking Shadows of the Erd Tree. The expansion for Elden Ring is coming out in June.
It's going to be meaty.
Yeah, I'm so keen.
Like it's pretty expensive. It looks like it'd be a big honking chunk. Like this comes with a cool like the DLC has a collector's edition with a statue.
It is FromSoft's biggest DLC they've ever released.
Damn.
And all their DLCs have been pretty honking. So.
Yeah, and it's on the back of them acquiring the once again, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah,
Bandai are in the same boat.
Bandai.
But they're like, you just give us money and we'll give you whatever you want. Like, you want the rights to Elden Ring? Bingo, here you go. We have cash now, please.
Well, because From Software publish it everywhere, but here, I think.
Here in the US, I believe.
Here in the US, yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of insane. But all right, well, let's talk about the games that are coming out this week. It's been a long show. Here's a game that so 5th of March. Here's a game that really should also be in a age rate dispute. Bang on Balls.
And a VR title.
And a VR title. Ooh. Bang on Balls Chronicles, PS5, PS4. It's just like a bongo game on a set of testes. Beautiful. Classified France, PS5, PS4. What the hell defines a classified France?
You'd have to play it to find out.
To find out. It's just, a very interestingly snooty version of 007. Expeditions, a Mud Runner game. People love Mud Runner, man. Like those weird driving sim games. PS5, PS4. Mediterranean Inferno. That sounds hot. Sounds like a sex position, actually. Age rate dispute. PS5, PS4. Shadows Over Loathing. That was my band name in high school. PS5, PS4. That's an emo band if I've ever heard one. The Outlast Trials is coming to PS5, PS4. I feel like I've been hearing about this game forever.
Look, just before you move on,
Did you Google Bang on Balls?
No, Mediterranean Inferno is a visual novel about friendship, desire, and grief. What's better than a sensual summer retreat into the south of Italy?
Sensual. Sensual. I'm playing this game. You sold me on was clearly people fucking in a walking simulator. On the 6th of March, 10 Seconds to Win. There's an easy platinum for you. PS5, PS4. Cat and Ghostly Road, PS5, PS4. Hex Gambit Respawned, PS5, PS4. New Star GP, coming to the PS4. Reveal? Reveil? Sure. PS5. 7th of March, Abyss, PS5. As Dusk Falls, PS5, PS4. Now, another game I feel like I've seen 1,000 times. I think that game must already be out. Like, is it being reported or must? Oh, what the fuck. Manic Mechanics, good name, PS4. Taxi Life, a city driving simulator. You've got my attention. When I'm done playing Mud Runner, I'm gonna be fucking doing taxis. What I really hope for a true city driving taxi experience, I better be able to cut people off randomly, ignore traffic lights. My backseat better smell like vomit. I'm gonna overcharge people at various hours for no reason.
When's the Uber Eats simulator being?
That's a game I'd like to play. Is there anything that you must have in your Taxi Life, a city driving experience game?
Nah.
I want a lot of really quick stopping, enough to bring on motion sickness, for whatever reason. Just being generally impatient.
I need the ability to like eject people from my taxi for no apparent reason, and then to just change the meter at the end of my trip.
Yeah. Just change the price because fuck you. That's why. 8th of March, Aka. Some sort of either Japanese and or caveman game. Unicorn Overload. Oh man,
I actually really want.
Apparently, the game looks kind of awesome.
Yeah, I really want it.
The name is stupid, but I like the idea. I too wish to have. That's also a great band name, a good emo band name. So supporting, supporting Shadows Over Loathing, this new local band, Unicorn Overload, and it's just hard death metal.
Okay, so just for funsies, Aka R is an old Atari game.
Okay,
It's an arcade shooter.
I'm sure it is. And the game that you should actually be paying attention to, WWE 2K24, goes into full release on the PS5 and the PS4 on the 8th of March. However, if you buy the deluxe edition, which has our incredible Australian Women's World Champion, Rhea Ripley, you get it on the 5th of March. And Bianca Belair, and then of course the WrestleMania edition, which has everything that you want about WrestleMania. Not all the matches, of course, but many of them, because like I think they released the list on saying, hey, there are some people. Brock Lesnar's in it because he has incredible WrestleMania moments, but you can't play him because he has done things that are abhorrent. So he's kind of like semi-cancelled. He's like he's shadow banned. Brock Lesnar is shadow banned within WWE. You can't get rid of him completely because he's done too much cool shit, but you also can't like have him prominently. That's the game that I will be playing, I can tell you right now. Because WWE, new GM modes, my faction is going to tickle my fancy. I'm going to make me again as a wrestler, and I will become your WWE undisputed Universal Champion. Because why not? Big Daddy Betson for champ. Hashtag. And then we'll have to remake you, Max. Do you want to stay the human cannonball?
Sure, why not?
I think we could tweak you a little bit. We can have some funsies. Have some funsies.
Sensual.
We'll make you the sensual Max Cooper.
It's gonna tweak me a little bit.
Oh, actually, that reminds me. While we were at Perth, we did remote play to my PlayStation to play GM mode, and I because with the new game coming out this week, we have decided to vacate the titles and start from scratch. So I will be leaving the WWE 2K23 season both your Intercontinental Champion and your United States Champion. Double Champ Betson will be heading into 2K24, leaving undefeated because we're vacating the titles. This guy, the best, winning 2 belts. So I beat, because for context, we have belts for our GM mode. The Intercontinental Championship is between my partner Phoebe, myself, and my mate Craig. And the US Champion is between myself, Craig, and my housemate Ange. Boom. I beat 3 other people. This guy, 2 belts. Go me. All right, well, big thank you, everyone, for quite a long episode of this week's of the Forward Plays PopCulturists PlayStation Podcast. I hope you'll have a lovely time listening to this. I imagine you might. I'm not your dad. I don't know what you do. But we really appreciate it. I hope you didn't miss us too hard on the week off. It is glad. I'm happy to be back. It did feel weird not having it as part of my weekly rotation. It did kind of throw out my week. I'm like, what day is it? Because I didn't actually record the show. So. And are you happy to be back into this usual shenanigans?
Yeah, it's been good.
Like, no, I didn't miss this at all. This is fucking stupid.
I fucking didn't expect my son to still be awake though.
All right, in that case, let's wrap this boy up so you can go tend to your dad duties.
I could hear him just giggling his fucking ass off.
Giggling?
Yeah.
I thought he was crying before.
No.
Things have turned? He's having fun now?
Yeah, he seems to be.
He's just farting, having a good time?
Yeah, he's chilling. Had a feed, had a poo. He's good now.
Oh man, I giggle immensely after a good poo. Like, I know what I did.
He's now in his own room. We've kicked him out of the bassinet in our room. He's now in his own cot in his room. So yeah, both kids, separate rooms. It's great. We have our room to ourselves again.
Hot. Have you been?
It actually has been fucking real hot lately.
It has, But once again, if those kids are in that room, you know what that means. Bang on Balls Chronicles. Let's go. Yeah.
I hope not.
And then you just keep doing it until you have that sweet unicorn overload. All right, let's go home now.
I am home.
Me too.
Oh.
Hey.
All right, everybody. You know the drill. This PlayStation conversation happens every Monday morning at 8 a.m. podcast services. including Apple Podcasts and Spotify at 9 a.m. on those YouTubes. If you'd like to take part in future conversations with us, you can come and check out our socials. Facebook, Discord, Instagram, and X. All of those links can be found in the description below.
If you want to join the conversation as it happens, head over to twitch.tv/PopCulturists. We can jump in the chat and watch us record the show live and whatever the fuck I normally say. If you want to... Oh, god damn it. What's the next part?
Be prepared for like 3 weeks to a month's worth of fucking Final Fantasy content from yours truly for like the foreseeable future.
If you are listening to it on a podcast service, be sure to give us a 5-star rating and a written review. If you watch us on YouTube, be sure to like, subscribe, with comment below. I endeavor to answer every single comment. If you want to support us financially, you can. You can head over to patreon.com/PopCulturists, as well as our merchandise store, popculturists.com/shop, where you can buy shirts and other sort of shit without logos on it. But until next week, I'm Ryan Betson.
I'm Max Cooper.
And that was for the players. Double champ. This guy.
Apparently it's a long weekend next weekend.
Hey, is it?
Apparently it's Labor Day on Monday.
Oh, sick. So even though I work for a company that's based out of New South Wales, I get Victorian public holidays. Yeah. And then, wonder if I get the New South Wales for their Labor Day.
No, you won't. If it's anything like my work, you get the public holiday for the state in which you work for.
Well, that's exciting. Long weekend either way. Bye.
And then if you're like me, you only get them on national holidays.
Oh. Well, see you all next week.
Toodles.